everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. Happy super blue moon in Pisces. It is, today is the day where we have not only a full moon, but it's a blue super moon. And what does that mean? So a super moon obviously is when the moon is as close to the earth as it gets, and that's today it's very close. I think today is one of the closest that it gets to the earth. It's coming in 17,000 miles closer to the earth than usual, so it's going to appear bigger in the sky. And the reason it's called a blue moon is because it is the second full moon we're having in 1 month. So with the month of August this year, we started on August 1st with the first full moon, and we're ending on August 30th with the second full moon. And the way that happens is we have 13 moons in a year, but there are only 12 months, and so there's always 1 month that gets 2 full moons, and this year it's August. So that's why we've got a super blue full moon. Also, what's cool with it is there's a conjunction between the moon and Saturn happening at the same time. So tonight, when you look at that full moon, you're going to notice a really shiny dot in the sky, that really shiny star. That's actually Saturn. And apparently you can even see it with a amateur telescope. You don't have to have a fancy one to be able to see Saturn's rings. That's how close it will be to the earth, which means not only are we under this influence of the full moon, but we will also be feeling the influence of Saturn. So Saturn brings structure, it brings seriousness, it brings weight, it tends to slow things down, but that's usually for our benefit because it allows us to really research and build a plan. Now, the other energies that are happening at this time is we still are under Mercury retrograde. Yay! This Mercury retrograde feels pretty good. It kind of makes you tongue-tied. That's one of the things I've noticed for me. And it does bring people up from the past. So anything that needs to be reviewed or looked over or basically re-examined from the past will come forward. So people are finding that people from the past often pop up during a Mercury retrograde. Now we also have Venus in retrograde, and that's been a review of our relationships and what we find valuable to us. And that one's actually going to be wrapping up on September 3rd. And right after that, Jupiter will go into its retrograde on September 4th. And so that will be us going over the bigger picture. Like, how do I see things in general? When I step back and I look at the 40,000 foot view, what am I viewing? What are my beliefs? What are my philosophies about life? Those are the things that we're going to be reviewing with that. So as you can tell, we've got a lot of astrological activity going on at this time. Now, the message from the team has been about, last week they talked to us about going inward. And what they're telling me this week is that seeds have been planted. You have successfully planted a seed, and that there are actions to take to help those things germinate. That actually what's coming is going to come from those feelings of gratitude and contentment that you can feel now. And so we really want to tap into that authentic feeling of gratitude. So when we find that state of gratitude, which is one of the highest vibrational frequency states we can be in, as well as contentment, we tend to only feel these things once we have them. So the most beautiful thing about activating gratitude and contentment before you have it is you're literally broadcasting to the universe, I have it. And I feel so good about it, right? It's here, it's mine, I can feel it, and I'm so grateful that it's in my life. And so they want us to know that we really want to focus in on gratitude, and they offered to us to tap into a movement that would bind this energy to you. And in order to help pull it in, like we want to reel it in, they show me this fishing rod, reeling it in. And that is the movement of the sacred spiral. So everything in energy moves in this beautiful spiral pattern. Whenever I'm tapping into that higher dimensional energy, you always see it come in as a spiral. And this spiral has a power because you can reel something in or you can unwind something. So when you're thinking about what you're creating and you're getting yourself into that state of gratitude and contentment, a really positive way to reinforce that physically is to spin in a clockwise motion. So it's a great moment to go out on the lawn, activate your inner child, put your arms out and spin in that clockwise motion, feeling that sensation of I've got it, it's here, and I'm so grateful for it. It feels so good. I feel so content knowing that I've created the life and the experience that I desire to create, spinning in that clockwise motion. And again, that's like you with your fishing rod reeling in this energy. But also, you can use this sacred spin, the spiraling energy, to unwind things that you find that I'm ready to let go of. And since we're in a new moon right now, and we are here for the next 2 weeks using the counterclockwise spin, while focusing on what it is you're unwinding from yourself, is also a really powerful activity. So I want you to think about, for example, if you've been stuck in confusion, if you've been dealing with confusion and you're tired of being confused, you can say something like, I release this confusion, and spin in a counterclockwise motion. And you can, again, I see like a spool of ribbon or something unwinding. We're unwinding it and we're just letting it go. And so these are a couple ways that you can add a physical element to the work that you're doing to help it manifest faster. Because again, we're working with this spiral energy, and literally spinning creates a whirlpool, right? It's either pulling something in or it's pushing something out. And by doing this, you're helping like increase that frequency. You are increasing the momentum of it coming to you or leaving you. And so anytime that you want to enhance it with a physical action, using spiral energy is a really ancient and powerful way to tap into this vortex that you're creating from. And with that, let's check out this week's karma card. If you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for us this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers. A set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and you feel, what is the guidance you need this week? Are you looking for action related guidance, or do you want to see how things resolve? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for August 30th through September 6th. And the flavor of this reading, this is so appropriate. We have the moon, which today, again, is the full moon. So we've got that very emotionally tapped in energy. We've got Capricorn, which is really interesting because Saturn, who is also very close today, rules the sign of Capricorn. So this is about our goals and the mark that we're trying to put out on the world. In the sign of the 11th house, and the 11th house represents your hopes, your wishes, dreams for the future, and groups and friends as well. So for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to defend your goals for humanity's sake. And this one really comes back to, have your own back for what you want. I think that sometimes we might think that our personal goals are selfish, especially if the world looks like a hot flaming mess like it can look at times, and we can think, I can't focus on what would bring me joy, I need to focus on fixing this. But remember, in order to fix that, this has to be strong, centered, and in order. So if we're holding judgment for ourselves for wanting to create big things, even during turbulent times, that has to be addressed first. You don't need to judge yourself or feel guilt or shame that you want what you want despite how things are looking. In fact, if you want to help humanity, you got to help yourself first. Remember, we put on our oxygen mask and then we can help put on other people's. So if we're struggling, or if we're constantly in a state of lack or feeling like we're not enough, or that we can't go after what we want, how are we supposed to do that for a larger scale? So again, it wants you to know that the focus is still on you. No matter how much this calls to you that this world needs to change, and it does, and it will. but it starts on the individual level, and it keeps coming back to this, because when you are fulfilled and strong in yourself, that's when you have the strength to help another. Mental action at this time: accept the day-to-day reality of your hopes and wishes. I think this one's interesting because the day-to-day reality is that you don't always have that same oomph and energy from day to day. You might notice that your desire or the things that you want to tap into, some days you have it really high, some days it's really low, some days you're really emotionally invested, other days you're like meh. And to expect yourself to be able to like maintain this dedication and level of energy, even though that's admirable, it's not always realistic. The reality is that you're going to have to wake up each day and choose again. And so if you're at a point where you're like, yeah, I love this and that's what I want, these are great days to journal about why you love it. Like when you're in that zone, write it down, put it somewhere where you can track it, so that on the days when you're like, meh, or I don't know why I'm doing this, you can go to those pages and be like, oh yeah, that's what I was feeling, and that's what's driving me, right? So recognizing that just because you're not jazzed about it today doesn't mean it's still not a hope and a wish and a goal. It's just the reality that our energy, it shifts from day to day. And there are things that you can do to like help reinforce that or help get you back into that same place. And then even if you do write it down and you read it, you might be like, huh. And then you can just go, you know what? Today's one of those days where I'm meant to be relaxed and resting. I'm meant to like recuperate that energy so I'll have it again to, really feel lit up inside and go for it. Doesn't mean the fire went out. It just means the fire is quiet right now. Physical action at this time: let your feelings tell you how to use the most business-like way and do it for the future. So our feelings are great, right? Because they're a great GPS system. They let you know if you're on that road or not, if you took a veer, if you turned off. So your feelings are that chemical response to your thoughts. And if you find that your feelings are kind of blah about where your future is going or what you want, you can follow those feelings and say, okay, this is how I feel. What thought am I thinking that makes me feel this way? And I feel like that's the most business-like approach, right? It's not to get consumed by the feeling, but start questioning the feeling. It's like, oh, this is how I feel. I feel anxious, or I feel tired or exhausted, or I feel worried, or I feel excited. Whatever that is, you identify the feeling and you ask yourself, what thought creates this feeling? And that's going to help you figure out, on those days when you're not feeling it, when you're not in alignment with, this beautiful gratitude and contentment that will help create what you want. If you can't get there, then it's time to investigate the feelings you are having and find out what you're thinking that took you off track with what it is you're trying to create. So now let's look at outcomes for the moon in Capricorn in the 11th house of hopes and wishes. The spiritual outcome at this time is the nurturing of dedication to achieve freedom. So we're given free will as one of our major laws that allows us to choose every single day what we want. And in order to create something specific, in order to manifest, what you have to do is keep choosing. Yeah, my team's like, ta-ting. You have to keep choosing the same thing over and over in order to manifest it. And that's why you might notice in the short term, you can manifest small things, because in a small situation, it's easy to think that over and over. When you're trying to manifest something big, especially something that would represent freedom, whatever that is, financial freedom, emotional freedom, personal freedom, whatever that is, that's going to require you showing up and making a similar choice every day. And here's the beautiful thing. The universe will never assume you're choosing the same thing every day. And that is for your own protection. And I like to use this metaphor that pretend that you told the universe one day, I love Fruit Loops for breakfast. I love it, right? And so you get here the universe manifests Fruit Loops for you, and you're like, yes, I love this. But then it never asked again. And so every morning, without fail, Fruit Loops will manifest. You might be stoked about that for a few days, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe be like, whoa, for a whole year I had Fruit Loops for breakfast and it was great. But I mean, for the rest of your life, every day, you never get to choose again. It's already set. You're going to have that for breakfast. You can probably feel that after a while that would feel very stifling, and it wouldn't be honoring who you authentically are now. It's only honoring a choice you made however long ago you made it, right? So again, when it comes to what we're trying to manifest, we have to actively wake up and choose it every day until we've manifested it. And we have the option to stop. Go, you know what? I really wanted this one thing and now I don't want it anymore. And so you take your mind off of it. You are free to do that. But if there is something where you're like, no. This is what I want. I know it's what I want. I've wanted it for years. Notice, number one, have you dedicated yourself to waking up and choosing again? Or did you kind of do what I think we all naturally do, which is we choose it, we're excited, and then we don't think about it anymore. Like we don't come back to it and re-choose it. So like when I do the Epic Year workshop with people, I do that every November where we come together. We look at the energy patterns of our personal lives for the year ahead, and then we find our big goal, the thing that feels really in alignment. We focus on manifesting that. But I also have throughout the year meetups where we come together and we re-choose again, because again, you have the right to choose whatever you want. You don't have to wake up and choose it again. You might wake up one day and go, I don't want it. That's the beauty of free will. So in order to manifest big things requires a type of discipline on our part where we're like, you know what? Until I get this, I'm dedicating myself to waking up and choosing it again. So this is asking us to nurture that type of dedication in order to create the thing that you want. And in this case, that creates that sense of freedom. And a lot of times, many of the big things we're trying to manifest usually have freedom as an outcome. So that's something really interesting to think about. All right, mental outcome at this time. Feelings caused by focusing on associations. So associations in this sense can mean a couple things. Can mean people that you associate with. But again, I get that it's how you associate two things. So for example, by focusing on association, so what you associate freedom with, or what you associate getting your goal with, or what you associate not getting it with, this is what it's asking us to tap into. And so like, what does that mean for you? What does this thing mean? What is associated with you getting what you want? What are the outcomes of that? So as we tap into those outcomes, that's how we can find that space, that really authentic gratitude, because we can allow ourselves to feel those things now. That's the beautiful thing about creating, is it's the feeling we're after ultimately. And many times we think we have to have that thing or that experience to get the feeling. And the truth is, we just have to tap into, what do I believe I'm going to get emotionally when I get this thing? And then we act from that place. If it's relief, let yourself feel relief in your body now. If it's gratitude, feel it now. If it's contentment, now, right? So they're letting us know that by going for the feeling state, we want to bring that in, and we can create it as a personal baseline feeling state. And this is something I talk about with my one-to-one clients, is we get really clear about what's your emotional baseline. What is your current feeling that you keep coming back to? That's going to be your emotional baseline. If you want to manifest this thing faster, tap into what you believe your emotional baseline will shift to once you get it. Physical outcome at this time. Reactions resulting from the rules imposed by your circle of friends. So this one's interesting because again, they say we're the amalgamation of the 5 people we hang out with the most. So if you find that you're trying to tap into this energy, if you're allowing yourself to, believe as if I have it so I can feel it now and I can generate from those feelings. You know, you want to be around people who support you. So it's either you do a couple of things. Either you find people who are willing to support you and hold that vision with you, or you keep it close to yourself and work on it there. And you don't, you know, one of the things they talk about when it comes to goals is you want to be clear about your goals, but you don't necessarily want to broadcast them, because as you do that, a couple of things happen. One, you invite other people's energy in, and so their thoughts, opinions, and beliefs about what you're doing will be interjected into the situation. And two, a lot of times when we talk about what we're doing, we start to believe the talking about it is the doing it. We just kind of feel like, hey, I did it. I've talked about it. Somehow I feel like I did something. And so many times the advice is to, you know, keep it to yourself so that you continue to take actions towards what you desire, rather than sort of spill all the energy out and weaken it through that. So again, you want to choose wisely whether or not you allow yourself to share the information, because just remember, there's no right or wrong about it. But when you share it, whoever you're sharing it with, you're inviting into the creation. Now they know, now they're a part of it. And if their energy isn't quite a match to yours, then you might be introducing contrary energies to your creations. But whichever way you go, I'm sending you so much love. Go outside, spin in the grass. If you're trying to create something, spin in a clockwise motion. If you're trying to let something go, spin in a counterclockwise motion. And let me know in the comments if you gave it a try and if you felt the difference. I believe that you will. And if you're doing it from that place of spinning in this emotion that you want to create, things like gratitude, freedom, contentment, all of these things, you're helping to solidify it. You're winding it in. You're going to catch that fish, and it's going to feel so good. Until next week, love you.